In a world where anything was possible, where adventures awaited around every block and the sun eternally shone over a pixelated landscape, the greatest threat was about to emerge from the shadows. The sun set on the horizon of a familiar area, the peaceful village of Netherbrook, where brave adventurers once gathered. Now, an ominous cloud loomed above, a warning of what was to come. In the heart of the village, a discovered mod by a group of mischievous players had unleashed chaos. This mod, called the Infection Protocol, had an insidious purpose. It corrupted everything in its path. Blocks at first, a harmless grass block turning into a pulsating mass of flesh, began to seep through the village like a vile tide. The sky turned dark, as if nature mourned the beauty that had been lost. In a flash, the once familiar motes of sunlight flickered away, leaving the villagers to fend for themselves. Jesse, the heroic leader of the group known as the Order of the Stone, was first to notice the spreading infection. A patch of grass near her home ebbed and flowed, transforming before her very eyes. What had once been fertile land was now grotesque and pulsating, squealing with echoes of misery. Gabriel! Petra! Jessie shouted, her voice echoing through the barren streets, her heart racing with fear for her friends. The infection was spreading quickly, corrupting everything in its path. Gabriel, the great warrior of the Order, appeared, fists clenched and ready for battle. Jesse! What's happening? He demanded. It's the mod. We need to stop it before it consumes everything. She replied urgently. We need to find Lucas and the rest. They were studying that thing. The group assembled quickly. Lucas, the clever strategist, and Petra, the fearless fighter, joined them just as a terrible roar echoed through the air. A colossal infected Enderman, stretched grotesquely and marred from its original form, ambled toward the village. Its limbs were leathery and twisted, its eye glowed a deranged shade of green that pulsed like a heartbeat. We're outmatched, Lucas shouted, panic creeping into his voice. It's not just this Enderman, it's everyone. Play it smart, guys, we've got to regroup. Petra nodded, brandishing her sword. We've faced worse. We can take it down together. As they steeled themselves, an army of infected mobs arose from the shadows. Zombies with mutated limbs, pigmen whose flesh shimmered unsettlingly, and spiders with multiple eyes charged towards them. Hold the line! Jessie yelled, her voice rising above the chaos. The Order fought valiantly, the clang of steel echoing through the eerie twilight. They struck down the infected beasts one by one, but more kept emerging from the infected blocks and gnarled trees that once stood proud. We need a plan, Lucas shouted again, dodging a leaping mutant spider. Let's go to the ancient structure to find the crystal of cures. Jessie determined. Legends spoke of the artifact that could cleanse any corruption, but it lay deep in the forest of shadows, a twisted wood but a few biomes over. We don't have time for that, Gabriel bellowed, firing arrows into the horde. This place will fall before we reach it. We have to believe, Jessie insisted. If we don't, we lose everything. This infection, it's spreading even now. Rallying their strength, Jessie slid through the gaps in the horde, leading her comrades away from Netherbrook. Together, they sprinted, roots creeping at their heels and rot laying waste to the structures they had loved. The forest of shadows loomed ahead, gnarled trees growing ever closer as if reaching to ensnare them. Within the fog, it felt almost alive, pulsating gently, like the infected blocks of home. As they delved deeper, they encountered ancient guardians, beasts of lore, once protectors of the realm, now twisted into infected forms. The battle intensified, every sweep of their swords sent shockwaves through the forest. When they finally discovered the heart of the forest, the crystal of cures rested on a pedestal of moss. Bright like a star, it gleamed with potential. But as they approached, it pulsed ominously, sensing their dire need. "Lucas, can you wield it?" Jessie asked, breathless. He stepped forward, running his fingers along its surface, whispering the words written in the tongue of old. The crystal light erupted, soaking the surrounding air. Jessie, Gabriel, and Petra felt hope rush through them as the call to cleanse reverberated across the land. They returned to Netherbrook at the crystal's urging, ready to unleash its magic against the tide of corruption. Gathering at the very center of the village, they raised the crystal high, bathing the infected structures and beasts in its radiant light. The infected mobs slowed, screams morphing into sorrowful howls as the crystal shone brighter. Jessie felt a connection, a bond between them and the land. Together, they lifted the curse, turning the tide of corruption back and slowly transforming flesh into blocks once more. In the aftermath, as the sun broke once again through the clouds, the village was resurrected. The infection that threatened to consume the overworld was gone. Jessie and her friends stood side by side, weary but victorious. "We did it!" Petra exclaimed, lifting her sword high in celebration. Gabriel clasped Jessie's shoulder, pride evident in his eyes. Together, as they watched the village resuming its normalcy, Jessie smiled softly. "But we can't let our guard down. We have to stay vigilant. The world is bigger than us, and we never know what else could come crawling through the digital shadow." With hearts united and determination burning bright, the Order of the Stone prepared for their next adventure, resolved to protect their world against all that threatened it, be it virus or beast, bound by the thread of friendship and the spirit of adventure.